Bienvenue, you beastly bunch! Sugar Pants sleazing my way back into your hearts with another sultry slice of suckitude. Today's tacky talkie is 1964's The Monster of Camp Sunshine, or How I Learned to Stop Worrying and Love Nature. A trashy tale of... well, to be honest, there isn't much of a tale. Unless you count all the ones our cast puts on display. This fervent film is all about showing off skin, and how we make that happen on the silver screen is a less important detail. So what can we expect from a movie that takes place primarily at a nudist camp? Well, let's slap on some sunscreen and check out that sleaze docket. We have one dead body, 58 naked breasts, a new single movie record, 48 naked butts, also a new single movie record, one naked bajingo, one naked dong, half a cup blood, axe to the arm, smoking, Monty Python O-Vision, gratuitous oboe, gratuitous tan lines, naked croquet, naked sunbathing, naked kite flying, naked picnic, naked birthday celebration, naked skinny dipping. I suppose that's gratuitous, but I've got a theme going here. More smoking, carefully placed props, camera operator shadows, rooftop topless modeling, casual ocean polluting, pipe smoking, overmodulated big band soundtrack, public domain soundtrack, and wieners. The roasting kind. Our movie begins with a nice little video brochure of a nudist colony, followed by some bizarre stop motion you usually have to turn on the BBC circa 1970 to get. After the lame attempt at setting an odd tone, we're on to the bustling city, where the garbage trucks are run by Bill Cipher from Gravity Falls. And it's here where we meet our two main characters, Marta and Claire, two university students whose combined intelligence was used up on this cigarette delivery system. They're getting ready for the day. Marta gives us some nice titillation getting dressed, including an elongated stocking sequence. That's when Marta knocks a mirror off the dresser, breaking it, and the incredibly long-ass musical sting letting us know how dramatic it is. Claire takes some time out to play with her pussy, Cat, who scratches her. She comments how she's never done that before and wonders if it's the start of some bad luck. Marta rushes off to her job, a medical testing facility. More specifically, where the lab mice are stored. Claire, however, has the more glamorous job of modeling. Just seconds in the office and it's time for another strip tease. But she makes damn sure we don't get too much skin. Gotta save something for later on. She changes into a frumpy dress that might have been considered fucking hot in the 60s, but in the 21st century she just looks like my great Aunt Tilly at a funeral. Back at the hospital, Marta is replacing the water bottles and moving some test subjects when she accidentally bumps a mysterious chemical that drips all over the rats. And because it's just easier for the movie to text us what's going on rather than hiring a rat trainer, we get some silent movie treatment. Suddenly some jerk starts chucking rats at Marta from off camera, and she actually climbs out the window to get away from them. Fortunately, Dr. Handsome hears her screams and pulls her back inside. Claire's boss/photographer, Ken, tells her how they want her to model a brand new topless bathing suit. Back at the apartment, Marta is sobbing like a lunatic in one of the absolute worst examples of ADR that I've ever seen put to film.
The rat on top of me. Oh, the window nearly fell down. Oh, God.
We skip ahead some time when she's not quite as hysterical, and Claire suggests that they take some time away to go to Camp Sunshine, and Marta perks right up. That's when we get a flashback to when Claire discovered that her roommate is a nudist and finds a drawer full of
Filth!
Claire asks Marta about it, and she tells her all about the wonderful life of being naked. Marta says her job makes her work around sick bodies all day long, so she just loves going to a nudist camp to be surrounded by healthy bodies. Eventually, Marta convinces Claire to join her for a weekend at Camp Sunshine, and they hit the road complete with jazzy traveling music. Once at the camp, we're immediately treated to nude croquet and sunbathing. Aw, to live in the days before skin cancer existed. Fun fact, well, not so fun actually, skin cancer would officially be discovered 4 years after the release of this movie. Or rather, that's when the medical professionals agree it was identified.
Now I know!
And knowing is half the battle.
G.I. Joe!
The girls check into their room, and after a bit of hesitation, Claire starts peeling her clothes off, but makes sure to do it slowly and sexfully. You know, like how all women do when they're certain nobody's watching. She grabs a towel because she's still a little shy, and goes outside to get chigger bites in the most sensitive of places. Marta and the manager of the camp, Suzanne, call her over to their spot in the grass, and that's when we meet the simple and thankfully clothed groundskeeper, Hugo. The movie makes a big deal of announcing he's Suzanne's brother because I guess that means anything. And we get an elongated sequence of flesh complete with xylophone. The group goes for a quick dip at the pond, then lay down in the gravel to dry off in the sun. But the weekend comes to a quick end, and the girls have to go back to the city wearing their clothes that society demands. Back in the current time, Marta's boss, Dr. Harrison, says he's been dealing with combinations of chemicals and an accidental concoction is what spilled on the rats. Well, it's a good fucking thing he stores such hazardous materials on the shelves immediately above the animals. He goes on and on about how thankful he is that they have ways of disposing such dangerous compounds so they don't end up affecting humans. We then cut to the doctor running across a dangerous highway to chuck the glass jar of chemical into the fucking ocean.
Go play! We all love to swim and fish and go boating.
So remember, the things that wash into our streets and gutters end up in our lakes and oceans.
Never dump motor oil or other chemicals down sewer drains. Recycle them instead.
And talk to your local authorities. They should be able to tell you how to safely dispose of toxic chemicals.
The power is yours!
A text card tells us that we've skipped to the next day where a Norman Rockwell fisherman has got something big on the line. Oh, it's a hot water bottle. Wah, wah, wah. Well, damn it, he reeled it in and he's keeping it. Gotta have something for supper, by gum. Next, he pulls in a bicycle inner tube and a paper bag that just happens to have the chemical jar. So in the bucket it goes, and our fisherman has had enough cliche garbage fishing for one day. He loads up his car and takes off. Several hours later, see? Our fisherman stops at a river that's very close to Camp Sunshine. He doesn't notice accidentally knocking the jar into the water and goes about his business. Downstream on the same river, Hugo is smacking fish with his stick. He drinks from the stream, but reacts badly to the taste. Suzanne goes to find him, but he's now making noises like an orangutan. We check in with our ladies who are once again messing with their stockings, and Claire's voiceover tells us that Suzanne closed the camp but forgot to write them and let them know to cancel their trip. Claire then gets on the phone to tell Ken that she's suddenly real keen to model the topless bathing suit now that she's a nudist. Ken decides to invite himself and Lori, the shy receptionist, up to camp on Claire's next trip. Well, sure, why not? We also find out that Marta and Dr. Harrison are getting kind of chummy, but she's not quite ready to tell him about her sun worshipping. Cut to the rooftops of the big city, and out comes the raciest of racy bathing suits. Rawr. Hey, wait a minute, that's not topless. Claire poses and shows us just how much of a professional model she really is, and after 3 photographs, out come the twins! Unfortunately, all I see here is Borat's mankini with a bigger crotch panel.
Wow, it's very nice.
Marta checks the mail one last time, but still nothing from Suzanne. With no reason for them to cancel their trip, they go in their giant fucking van. Marta, Claire, Laurie, and Ken roll up together, and I gotta think Ken's liking the 3-to-1 genitalia ratio on this trip. Once they arrive, they call out to Suzanne, but no one answers them. We then cut to Hugo, who's chained up in the shed. He reacts to the girls calling out, but for some reason, Suzanne doesn't hear the same calls when she brings Hugo some lunch. Not thinking it's weird how no one else is at the camp, the girls start frolicking around. Laurie takes off through the woods while the others drive to a nice picnic spot. That's where they all pile out, and off come the clothes. Suddenly, the group is approached by Suzanne, who doesn't hesitate in stripping off her clothes, even though she specifically shut down the camp due to a family emergency. Laurie still isn't quite so ready to get nude for an audience and goes for a walk. Back at the shed, Hugo has had enough of just listening to the no-pants party. He rips his chains from the wall and finds a conveniently placed axe and takes off into the woods. He ends up at the lake just in time to see Laurie work up the nerve to get naked for a skinny dip. After a very quick swim, she lays on the shore to dry in the sun while Hugo slowly approaches. But thankfully for her, he steps in a Looney Tunes gag and runs away. And Laurie doesn't notice 1 decibel of the noise Hugo makes. Just then, Suzanne makes it back to the shed to find her brother has escaped. She immediately says some chemicals in the water made him go mad. As if she'd have any way of knowing that. But Marta says to not tell the others so they don't ruin their fun. I mean, we're making a movie to show off some skin. The last thing we need is the plot to give us a reason to put our clothes back on. Conveniently, Dr. Harrison calls Marta now that she's got the plot spelled out and says they've almost got an antidote figured out for the rats. She says something, but we don't get her side of the call, and the doc says he'll race right up. And do what? I don't know. He just admitted that the antidote isn't ready yet. Is he planning on finishing it while driving? He takes off on his motorcycle, so I guess not, and he drives to the nearby airport and hops onto a plane. Marta then calls her contacts in the military, who jump to action.
A monster? A monster? In a nudist camp?
Ladies and gentlemen, your bloated, runaway military-industrial complex at work. Back at the camp, we get a title card telling us it's Claire's birthday, which means topless cake eating and sparklers. Marta takes off with her sparkler, and Hugo attacks, though it's hard to tell the extent of the damage here. Later on, we find out that she's okay, but did get a cut to the arm. The other girls take turns smashing bottles and cake over his head, and that's all it takes to get him to run away. Dr. Harrison parachutes from the plane, and the military arrives with tons of stock footage. And this is when the movie just devolves into chaos, so I'm just going to let it speak for itself. Enjoy. The fucking cavalry arrives just as Dr. Harrison lands with what I assume is his antidote, but it's too late. The military is storming the fucking beaches of Normandy, complete with Civil War reenactors, and they nuke poor Hugo into oblivion. After the attack, our group of civilians return, fully clothed, to the scene of the battle, only to find a smoldering crater that once was Hugo.
And that's all that's left of the monster of Camp Sunshine.
The women sob for a bit, but then realize it's such a beautiful day, it'd be a shame to waste it. So off come the clothes, and the frolic continues. The end. Wow. Greatest movie ever, right, folks? I mean, I have seen some bare bones horror movies before, but this one just might be the bare boniest. And you take that phrasing however you please. I honestly think I have seen porn movies with more plot. And I don't mean the actual movies with a beginning, middle, and end. I mean the pizza boy delivers a pie only for the woman to realize she doesn't have money and, oh, how will I ever pay for this food kind of porn. Camp Sunshine was written and directed by Ferenc Larraget. Sound familiar? Well, it shouldn't, because this is the only damn thing he ever did. In fact, with the exception of the producer, this is the only credit for everybody involved with this movie. But during recording of this episode, I did discover one thing. Ferenc Larraget is an anagram of CeeLo Green Fart. So there's that. The producer, Gene R. Carney, was actually attached to some known projects, directing 8 episodes of Night Gallery and 3 episodes of Kojak, writing Night of the Lepus, 11 episodes of Night Gallery and 26 episodes of Kojak, and even acting in a couple episodes of Night Gallery. And that's it. And you know what? I'm kind of okay with that. We get a group of dum-dums together, nude up the girls, and spend a weekend filming them bouncing around for a bit, and that's the end of it. If Camp Sunshine was made today, we'd be bombarded by all the actors' moronic Twitter feeds and TikTok videos for the rest of fucking time. And I suppose in that sense I really do miss the Hollywood of yesteryear. So with that jiggly, squiggly look into what your grandparents probably got horned up by on their young adult dates to the drive-in, we must close out another episode of The Basement Tapes. But never fear, my schlocky supporters, we've still got a cornucopia of crummy content to come. And until I greet you again for another messy movie manifestation, this is your comfortably clothed clowny pal Sugar Pants. See you in your dreams.
My brother's a monster.